Hi, everybody. Welcome to Experts Dig In with Doggies for Dementia. I am Carmen DeValis, and I am founder of Doggies for Dementia Foundation, which is a nonprofit 501c3 company. And what we do is we use photography to raise awareness. And we do that with compassion and kindness. And families are actually gifted complete photo sessions, usually includes video, and we work with them to share their stories. And then we share that with the world so that the whole world can understand a little bit more about what dementia is. Our whole mission is to reduce stigma and raise awareness so that we can have a much more compassionate, kind, and loving world. And I hope I'm alive to see that, actually. Autumn, I hope I'm around for that. And so this is our program for education and for our family caregivers and professional caregivers as well. What do we need to learn about health and wellness, and all in relation to dementia as well? And I'm really excited today. Our guest is Autumn Schulze. Hi, Autumn.
Hi.
And so interesting because similar to me, in science background. So Autumn was a biomedical scientist, right? And
Yep, yep.
was big in really big science in the lane of science and wellness from that direction. And her father became very ill with cancer, and it totally changed how she looks excuse me, how she looks at health and wellness. And we're going to talk about that today because what you learned with your dad, Autumn, is a lot of what you're going to help us with our families too. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm blessed to be here. And hello, everybody.
I just realized hold on, I might need this. So that's my welcome. I don't know if you know this or not, but I was certified as a holistic nurse practitioner. It was a lot of schooling, a lot of education, and I used to see things that come out, and I thought it's a big, big question for people. What's legit? What's studied? What does that mean? Why is research important? And is everything kind of woo-woo or not? And I think when we're talking about caring for our families, we want the absolute best, right? Yeah. And so I would wondering if you could talk a little bit of that to that, because I know you know.
Yes, absolutely. So, and that's really, as you had mentioned, that is really what did the 180 pivot for me from leaving 13 years of pharmaceutical research to really looking at these holistic methods. And so with my father, I was blessed enough to be able to be his pretty much daytime caregiver, and was able to really see, unfortunately, how we were bounced from doctor to doctor to doctor and trying to palliate symptoms with medication, but often not necessarily digging down as to really what is causing those symptoms. How can we be able to reverse that from kind of the most basic level of how we're nutrifying ourselves, right?
Right. Right.
And so it really opened my eyes when my father's cancer doctor, said that nutrition really didn't have anything to do with it. And I had been studying for about a year and a half at that point, and for food as medicine and herbalism and making your own medicines at home and juicing. That was a big part of keeping my dad having a lot of vitality, was juicing fresh fruits and vegetables, especially veggies. And to hear his chemotherapy doctor say that, it completely took my breath away.
So it had nothing to do with anything like overall how he was feeling, or looking at longer quality. I mean, longer
So
quantity
they
or
want, when
quality,
they
or
are undergoing chemotherapy, and my dad didn't just have like a 6-week stint, right? He had ongoing for over a year or two where he was in more than he was out.
right.
And he would go home with a pump that would pump it afterwards for 48 hours. And so it was a large exposure that he had for the second time around, which was when I was able to be by his side. And they were trying to So when you're undergoing chemotherapy and when you have cancer, your metabolism speeds up. The cancer speeds that up. And so you tend to lose weight rather quickly, especially as you progress. And so they want you to be able to keep the weight on. So a lot of times they say, okay, go ahead and eat, eat the ice cream, eat whatever you can, whatever you're able to eat. And while on one level, it's good to get calories in, on the other level, cancer is an obligate glucose metabolizer. So it has to in order to thrive, and it has to have that really that man-made,
Sugar?
kind
Yeah.
of,
So
a
it loves
process.
sugar. So
Sugar is what it
cancer.
loves. Yeah, that's why when they do a
Okay.
CT scan, they give the radioactive
Right.
contrast because it lights up with the sugar in there.
Yeah. So it would make sense then that sugar is not what you'd want to ingest if the cancer's loving it and you're trying to get rid of cancer.
Yeah, yeah, we wanted so with our focus, we went as whole foods and as plant-based as possible,
Hmm.
because he had colorectal cancer, and so there's a lot of legitimate studies out there, especially in the last few years, that are showing
Hmm.
that processed meats are really contributing to colon cancer. And
Ah,
so we eliminated and the way that I teach and that I coach as a gut health coach is we want to eliminate as much body burden as we can,
body
and
burden.
so
Right.
that includes the food that is a big part of the foods that we're intaking. Of course, medications and different exposures have their role, but
Mhm.
food is the basis of rebuilding ourselves and keeping ourselves alive and feeling alive in
Right.
eating those live foods. And so we did a little bit of opposite of what the cancer doctors tell you is we had him eat a lot of raw food and a lot of uncooked food, but we did that before his chemotherapy and had
Hmm.
him strong and had his gut strong and had because the microbiome and the health of your bacteria in your gut really is 80 to 90% of your immune system
Oh my
strength,
gosh.
and it 90% of your serotonin and your
Yeah.
dopamine is all produced by your GI.
I want to, before we go on, because this is really interesting, I want to say that I don't know if people realize that nurses, physicians, those in healthcare, for the most part, nutrition is not a big part of the programs. It
Yeah,
might be a little bit more now, but certainly for in my time, which wasn't that long ago, it
yeah,
wasn't. And when even let's see, I'm going to say 1994, 95, when I was getting my master's, and I'm talking about holistic health, which is really meaning body, mind, spirit. And when you look at the body, what about nutrition? And that body, what did the body, I call it stress, but it's body burden. It goes into food as well as, are you sleeping? Are you exercising? Are you stressed? And you can't talk about one without the other because it all impacts. And so with a healthier diet, you manage other stress better and you
yeah,
sleep better. And
yeah.
so it lowers the burden in so many ways. Each of them work that way, right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a multitude of layers that we were able to utilize to help him feel better. So, like when he was in a state like I can't sit up on him, I don't have the energy. Okay, I'd run over, make him some carrot apple juice. Within half an hour, he's sitting up with energy, laughing,
Mhm.
because really that separates and does what the body. We're a juicer. We separate the insoluble and the soluble fiber,
Uh-huh.
right? And so that allows that micronutrient punch to the liver and to be able to give that energy because absorption is an issue in certain disease states as well,
Right.
right?
D- Describe
So, yeah,
describe micronutrient. Micronutrient.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So the body actually being able to break down the different nutrients within the body. So we have macro and micronutrients. Macro are carbohydrates, proteins, fats, right? Some vitamins and minerals. But when you get into micro, it's really them being broken down into their components and really thinking about like my dad, he spilled a lot of magnesium, so we'd have to get infusions with that and different things. So it's thinking about at really the vitamin, the broke down chemical compound level after the liver's done what it's done. How are you actually absorbing? So it's the health of your GI, it's your constitution, it's what are you eating, your
Mhm.
disease state that all lead to how much nutrition you can actually pull from your food.
Mhm.
And getting more concentrated nutrition nowadays is even more important than ever because our foods have less nutrition than they did before due to the soils degrading over the right?
Yes.
So
And
yeah, eating
right. So,
organic, making sure that you're not getting those chemical laden burdens just from your food, right? Pesticides, fungicides, insecticides, the Roundup that they put on there, the glyphosate actually makes your gut cells not be sealed anymore. It makes them permeable into where other chemicals and things can get out into the body, which lead to allergies and food sensitivities and anxiety and stress and things like that. So there was a multitude of we did juicing, we cleaned up his diet as much as possible and added in, of course, things like oatmeal, which can equal 4 hours of running to your cardiovascular system. One bowl of oatmeal a week. Did you know that? Oh
no,
my
say
gosh.
that again. Say that again.
So I know I get excited. So
Yeah,
1 cup of oatmeal equals 4 hours of running cardiovascularly to your heart.
really, to your heart.
Yes, yes. They've studied couch potato vegans and compared them to omnivore triathletes, and the couch potato vegans had better hearts because there just wasn't things in there. Kind of with
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah, and you want to talk about like legitimate science, right? And
Right.
how there's all these new studies and these legitimate things. So I
Mm,
wanted to offer a couple of resources
uh-huh.
for your viewers. So nutritionfacts.org is a
Okay.
wonderful place that I go to have the latest research on whole foods plant-based medicine and
Okay.
how they're being able to study it. You can find on there are legitimate studies, and on that site, they have full sources of all of everything. They have their transcripts, their full sources for all their videos, and it's led by Dr. Michael Greger, who's a wonderful doctor. And him and his team go through every English nutrition journal every year, and they summarize it, videos every day.
Oh,
So
that's
they've actually, they're whom I found out about that they have now researched that whole foods plant-based diets not only stop but reverse heart disease and type 2 diabetes.
hmm. Whole Foods. So,
Yeah.
okay, so I'm at home and I'm caring for someone who has dementia, and I say, give me the top three things that I can start, or even the top thing I can start today, and then maybe then in a couple weeks do, and then add a third one on in a few weeks. What would you say the most? Where would I start?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing that I would start with is to make sure that you're getting as much concentrated kind of nutrition as you can. So in addition to fresh juices, and that's not necessarily in a blender, but actually with a juicing machine that pulls out and separates the fiber. But you can also use, undervalued are soups and
Hmm.
smoothies, and
Hmm.
just how many things like you can hide in a smoothie nutrition wise, right? I mean, you can put in there protein powders, you can put in there different supplements that someone may need.
Right.
You can also be able to put herbs in there that maybe I like to put the adaptogen ashwagandha in there
That's
to
a
be
big
able to
word.
help with the adrenal glands
Autumn,
and stress and
Autumn,
you
that
know
was a big word.
ashwagandha. Yes, yes. I've done some videos on my YouTube about adaptogens and
Okay.
ashwagandha, and she's one of my favorites because it really helps with adrenal fatigue and stress and having stress having compounded over time. So these herbs help your body adapt to changes.
Yeah.
So I
What?
think that soups and smoothies are a beautiful way to be in an underutilized way. And soups you can bulk cook,
Mm.
right, to be able to make it easier and to just be able to pull those out. Um,
I'm
I
going to say
also,
too,
yeah,
we're going to have links to the things you're talking about in the comments. So don't worry about taking notes. They'll be there. Yeah.
yes, yes,
Okay. So
absolutely,
a
absolutely.
quick question before you go on. You said juicer and not a blender.
Right.
So like I have a Vitamix, I have a juicer too. Why are juicers that separate out because I thought if I'm not getting all that fiber, that's not good either. I thought better to have the fiber than to have it separate.
Well, so if someone is focusing on getting enough fiber otherwise in their diet, then it
Uh-huh.
shouldn't be an issue to separate out that insoluble fiber. There is still soluble fiber there.
Uh-huh.
And if somebody is worried about their blood sugar regulation with that and taking that fiber out, you can always add in some psyllium husks or some
Okay.
Metamucil, in there to be able to help mitigate the sugar that the glycemic index that may rise
So the
after
glycemic
that.
index can rise if you add the pulp to it. So if you use a blender and it's got everything all in there for a smoothie.
So the smoothies absolutely have their role. I think for me, the more advanced a disease state and the more nutrition that somebody needs, that's when juicing comes into play.
Okay.
And when
So
I am feeling fatigued and I just don't feel like myself and I just need kind of like my cells to go, yeah, then that's when I kind of reach to juice, right? And one of my favorites, especially to calm the digestion, is carrot apple and adding
mm,
just a little bit of ginger in there.
hmm.
Um,
Oh, that sounds really good.
yeah, I've used it as food as medicine in myself when I've been in some of my more toxic states because I have some genetic things that have caused me to have some body burden
Mm-hmm.
we had talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And so really with the juicing, when you think about it, you want all the other nutrition, yes, to be on point, but the nutrition, I kind of almost think it in that state as a multivitamin
Mm-hmm.
because it's going to be giving your body without having to do all this extra work. And and I utilize it kind of in weight loss regimes with clients and things like that because it's a wonderful thing to be able to replace breakfast with, to not necessarily fully fast, but
Uh-huh.
have some juice, maybe a little bit of nuts or something like that, just to be able to get the body started off right and break your fast as plantfully, livefully as possible. Because
That's,
I love plants.
yeah. Yeah, me too. Me too. I think our pharmacy is all around us. Um, so okay, I'm a little confused. So
Yeah,
the fiber, is it
yeah.
harmful to make a soup or make a smoothie with the fiber? Is there anything harmful with that? But it's just better to juice, or they both have a place.
They absolutely both have a place. If somebody is in more of an advanced dis-ease state,
Uh-huh.
then I usually lean more towards juicing in order to make sure that they're getting those micronutrients that they want.
I
Because,
see.
and especially, that ultimate dis-ease state in my mind is cancer, right? And so
Uh-huh.
as you progress, you get what is, it's a big word, it's called cachexia, right? To where
Mhm.
you actually have muscle wasting and the body's metabolism speeds up so fast due to the cancer that your body starts eating away at your muscles as well
Right.
in order to get enough nutrition. And so that's when you absolutely want to punch in those micronutrients. It's also chemoprotective as well. My dad was the best looking one throughout that chemo suite with color and pallor and vitality and energy. And it was just those last 2 weeks where there were a couple of complications, which I've talked about on my Facebook and my YouTube and things.
Yeah.
But to where basically his GI shut down and then that cascaded very quickly
Mhm.
after that.
So,
Um,
but before that, because his cells were being taken care of, his body is being taken care of, the chemotherapy could do its job without it.
It protected him. Yes, yes. There are a lot of, there's a website, chrisbeatcancer.com. And that is one of the movements and gentlemen who shifted our lives because he had the same cancer that my father had, but he had surgery, but he did not do chemo or radiation. He's
Mhm.
kept it off for over 10 years with a multitude of lifestyle factors. And he is now a cancer coach. And he has a cancer coaching program, which is very affordable. It's $200 and it's a 10 module, leads you through all the steps that he did. He has books that supplement with all the recipes and the herbal cancer fighting teas that he made and utilized. And so there's a multitude of layers of food as medicine that can be used. And Chris Beat Cancer, he has a lot of interviews of folks that have utilized food in order to heal their disease all the way up to cancer. And for me, we want to have the strongest foundation that we can, no matter what treatment we're going to go into,
Yeah.
right? Whether you choose natural or traditional, allopathic medicine, then, but you still want to be strong. You want to have as much
Right.
fortitude and energy, yeah,
Right.
as you can.
And the thing with dementia, like almost every other disease process, is yes, we're looking at what happens in the brain, but the truth
Right.
is that things are going on in other part of the body also. And you may not just see them, or it may not show up as something that we could call it, but it's affecting the brain so that we see symptoms. And so we're looking at whole body health, whole body wellness in that sense. And okay, so I love that. So family people at home then can juice. And now, are the juices that they could get, say, from health food stores and places that sell, not just the, I'm not talking about the grocery store, usually the grocery store juices that you can get in bulk. These are ones that you can get it that are juice particularly. Are you, er, I mean, is that
Right. Yes.
something
The
people
ones.
can do while they are learning how to
Yes, yes. When we
care?
started out, we got here in Texas at HEB, we got Bolt House Farms, their carrot juice, right? And so we would get that when we weren't able to juice ourselves or when we were starting out.
Uh-huh.
And I like the Omega brand juicers. And there's two different types of juicers. I like the horizontal masticator, the slow juicer, because it actually by force
Yes.
pushes the juice out. It doesn't heat it up. So it allows it to last another day and a half, kind of in the fridge if you
Mhm.
wanted
I
to.
have one of those. I lost a part to it and I've been looking for it. It's somewhere in a box, but okay. So there's a way to do that. And I'm going to say, I'm going to let you know, I'll know too. This is a lot, but Autumn is going to have a class that we're going to link to that you can watch modules and things like that. But what we really want to do is to just like, oh yeah, there are simple things you can start to do now at home, because that nutrition, not just for the person who has dementia, but for the caregiver who has a very I don't want to say there's a lot of body burden there when you're a caregiver. And so self-care can maybe be as easy as juicing or doing the smoothie here, or looking at more whole
That leads me to
foods.
number two. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, let's go to number two.
So number two is opening your mind to the healing possibilities of herbal tea.
Mhm.
Right. So there's one in particular that I wanted to kind of mention, lemon balm.
Uh-huh.
And she is easy to grow in most of the continental United States. You might have to give her a little care here and there. But she's known as the gladdening herb. And so it's one of these herbs that would be considered a nervine herb. So there are herbs that work specifically for the nervous system
Nervous.
and to be able to help calm, coddle, heal, support the nervous system. And they have different roles within the body. So a mild nervine that I would think about for grief and for quick to tears is rose,
Mm.
right? But something that would help the digestion, but would also help calm and help sleep, lemon balm, chamomile, lavender,
Mhm.
right? So
Mhm.
there's a lot of these gentle herbs that could be utilized to help in that fashion. There's herbs that help lower blood pressure, that help, like we said, adapt to stress. There's even ones that help with inflammation. There are neuroregenerative herbs,
Mhm.
which would be something else to look into and educate yourself on. Things like reishi mushroom and chaga and cordyceps, all of these mushrooms, and even lemon balm. I have a client who has MS, and lemon balm helps maintain the myelin sheaths
Mhm.
in the
Oh,
brain.
very
So
interesting.
there are food and herbs that can help, maybe not necessarily fully reverse, but slow
Mhm.
progression and also help with a multitude of just daily symptoms that someone could be having.
Um,
Digestion is really easy to be able to support anxiety,
mm.
sleep, things like that.
You're even
Yeah.
talking to kind of, oh, I feel it already. When you mentioned chamomile and lavender, because I'm familiar with that, those right, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember. It really puts me into that space. And I want to say too, this, when we're for people who are on medications, who have other that have some illnesses going on or what have you, this is when we're talking about medicines to heal, herbs to heal, or to support healing. Do you usually recommend then that they work with someone who understands the whole picture versus just kind of going and haphazardly choosing what they think they might work based on what they're reading? Or what's your recommendation about that?
Yes, so it is very important to understand any herbal contraindications that would be there, right? Any contradictions as to why you wouldn't want to utilize something. And as simple as lemon balm that I just mentioned, the one contraindication is hypothyroid,
Mm.
because in large amounts it can actually lower that.
Oh.
So it's very good to, of course, educate yourself, right? And I say 3 to 6 sources to
Hmm.
look for to make sure that something is legitimate. I don't, just like LeVar Burton and Reading Rainbow, you don't have to take my word for it, right? Go out and find those resources.
Hmm. Oh, it froze. Oh, it froze up. Okay, so um, I can start. Okay, so we're really talking about then how important it is to for us to go seek information ourselves, to educate ourselves. Yes, how
Yes,
important.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. That would probably be the third and the one of the bigger considerations, because there's so many levels that that is going to open for you to be able to use as support.
Yeah.
Um, I know that I definitely, if you would have asked me, 6 years ago, would you try this herb? I would have leaned more towards pharmacopoeia or traditional medicine, right?
Yeah.
However, now with the research that I've done, there really is less than 20% of medical schools that even have 1 hour of nutrition within the United States. And so if your doctor is not educated or feels comfortable talking to you about food as medicine, and there are certain states such as California where they will lose their license if they talk to you at something outside of the traditional scope. So it's a lot of times
What's that?
they're
What
things
was
they can't
that?
tell you, right? Like the hints that my dad's surgeon gave us at the beginning, he whispered to them to us in ICU because he couldn't, and that was juicing, eating an alkaline diet, and never eating red meat again for my dad specifically, right? And so there's these things that opening your mind. There's anti-inflammatory foods. There are foods out there and herbs that can help calm. They can also be utilized internally to soothe, but also externally as well, so you're not giving that extra body burden. But I would say simple, small nuggets of information that you can digest, finding a couple of trusted, there's a lot of doctors on YouTube talking about nutrition, and nutritionfacts.org, that one site, Crispy Cancer, they're all talking about how nutrition will support the body. A little digestible for the
Mhm.
most part, 5 to 10 minute, 15-minute videos. And then of course there's some things that I have out there on my autumnsharvest.tv page, because
Oh,
my business is Autumn's Harvest, because I
yeah.
like to help people harvest their best health and wellness. So there's some videos on there in my Women's Holistic Gut Health Sisterhood, as well
Yeah.
as on my YouTube, that talk about gut health, gut soothing, natural things for stress and anxiety, just being able to start small, right?
Mhm.
And that's where it really is important, is to learn small things and implement small things as you go along, because
As you
there's
go.
so many other stressors in life, right? And you don't want
Yeah.
to put more burden on yourself trying to be healthier and trying to give more self-care. You don't want that to be more stressful.
Yeah, isn't
Right.
that like a double-edged sword for
Yes.
almost for
Yes.
everybody? Like, well, I started this and then I have to read and then I'm stressed out because I have to do all this learning and I don't know how to do it and I want to take care of myself and then there's the shame over not being able to take good care of yourself because you can't read everything and that's
Yes, it's about 1% better, right? 1% better
yeah.
every day, and trying and giving yourself grace. I think grace is it was my word of the year 2 years ago, like giving it to yourself, right?
Yes,
Um,
yes. And
and
I want everyone, every caregiver who's listening to hear that because it's the same for everybody, but it's even more so for people who are caring for someone else, especially someone that they really love.
Yeah.
There's just such a is just such a big responsibility and a big weight, and so that 1% I love you just do 1% rather than overburden. And so maybe it's you begin with having more of the vegetables for meals, that you make sure there are plenty of vegetables and a whole foods to start with, and less of the process. So the processed foods, the thing that comes in packages.
Yeah, and trying not to think about it as like, oh, I have to eliminate so many things. Well, that
Mm,
is happening with time, but you also get to add so many beautiful different things. I know
mm,
when when you eliminate or you try to do a little bit more meatless Mondays and things, you have to get a little more creative, but that opens your mind to different spices and new things that you may love and things that could benefit your body from just being in your food, you know.
right.
So,
Yeah. And so it's about having, if we can imagine, it's about having a strong, healthy body and not throwing away modern medicine either.
right.
But it's like taking if we start to embark on a healing process and we're relying 100% on modern medicine, we are up the creek, because without a strong body, the modern medicine isn't going to help either. It's got to come from a place of strength and health. Yes.
Yes, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because there are a lot of modern medicines that put burden on the organs, right?
Yeah.
And the more medicines, then the more burden that can happen. But
Hmm.
then there's where root cleansing herbs that don't
Hmm.
taste good, but can come into play, right?
They don't taste good. I was just going to say that. I'm like, my experience with
Yeah,
that.
but
Yeah.
that's where I can help because I
Yeah.
love to hide food in medicine, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you want the adaptogen ashwagandha, I'll hide it not only in smoothies but in fudge, right?
Oh,
I mean,
no.
there's so many different ways, and there's
Yeah.
so many herbs that are nutritive, like
Hmm.
nettles to be added to food. It's high in vitamin A, K, C. It's the highest chlorophyll concentrated plant that exists. It may be one of the most nutritious plants in the world,
Mm.
and a lot of people don't even know what it is.
Right. Right. I might
Yeah,
be one of
so
those
just
people.
opening ourselves to what we don't know, because I think sometimes after high school or college, we're just like, I don't want to pick up another book. I know me for a few years, I was like, I don't think so,
Mhm.
but to open myself to that continuing, I mean, it's one of my big strengths being a learner. I'm high on learner, right? So
Me too.
but
It's a great value for me.
yeah,
Education is
yeah,
something I value. You can tell if you looked around, if you could see, well, it's a mess, but there are a lot of books and
yeah. But it's important to, as caregivers, to put your oxygen mask on as
mhm,
well. And sometimes even first, so that you can have the energy and the fortitude to be able to continue to give.
mhm. I so love this, Autumn. I think it is important for all of us, and you've inspired me to kind of take a good look at what I'm eating and what little changes that I can make, because for all of us, that the not only becoming and being healthy and strong is also to help prevent, our first line of defense, and our lines of defense is our health and our wellness, and mentally too, our emotional health. It's all those pieces together that help maintain health. And if something happens, that there is a dis-ease, that we can get to equilibrium balance again. Because disease is just like it says, it's an imbalance. And then the whole goal is to get back to that homeostasis is the big word, right? But that balance in our health, so that we can go on and survive and thrive. And I will say, people with dementia, when their diets were cleaned up, um, that it really made a change in the length of time. So there's one thing that happens sometimes with dementia, people will have these moments of clarity. And for families, those are sacred moments. They're like, for that moment in time, they made eye contact, they recognized their child, maybe their grandchildren, and then it's gone. But that moment lives on for that family member, because they were there for that moment. And I've noticed when and this is anecdotal, of course, but with some of my patients, when their diet was changed and they even upped their exercise a little bit, not only were they sleeping better then, and we know when we're well rested, our brain will work better, their moments of clarity lasted much longer and happened way more often. And that was huge. That was a huge payoff for everyone involved. And I can't say it's going to happen for everyone, but we do know it makes a big difference in some way, some form. It just has to. You can't. It's like having a car and you're putting really terrible fuel in it, and you expect it to run really well on the highway and not break down or be left way behind because you can only go 30 miles an hour because the fuel is crap, right? But when you put good fuel in it, smooth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. When because really disease for me, it comes down to a couple of things: body burden, nutritional toxicities, chemical toxicities.
Mm-hmm.
And so being able to push those kind of to the other side as much as possible. There's definitely deeper layers that we can go into, like rosemary increasing blood flow to the brain. So I think there's definitely some more that we can bring. And I invite folks to ask questions down below in the comments.
Yeah.
Let us know kind of what you want to hear about. If there's any questions that I can answer for you guys down below. And thank you, Carmen, so much for allowing me to have this opportunity and allowing me to share the beauty of and ease of food as medicine.
Yeah. Oh, totally my pleasure. And okay, so pom pom moment. We for our Doggies for Dementia, actually called Digging In with Doggies for Dementia, our Facebook group. Autumn is going to, yeah, we're going to be doing a live and question and answer to answer these questions that you have, because I know you do. And what can we do? And also then to have some ongoing resources.
Yeah.
This is so important. And I want to just reiterate, we start small, little changes. Don't get overwhelmed. If you're overwhelmed, then you won't do it at all, right? It's like exercising hard and then you can't sit the next day. It hurts to sit down and like you're not going to do it again, right? Little changes, and then just keep adding and learning little at a time. And tune in to some of Autumn's. Say your YouTube channel again is Autumn's Harvest. Is that
It's
it?
Autumn's Harvest, and we'll have the link to my website where you can get to all of the juicy goodness, mini courses, my women's Facebook group about the body, and being able to see any new things that come up, such as the nervous system and kind of anxiety supportive mini course that I'm going to have, which is going to somewhat support what we talked about here today.
Yeah, love it so much. Thank you. What a great topic and a great day, because for me here right now, this is Monday. I'm not sure when this will air. It's Monday, and for me, Monday is my fresh start day. And I take a look at everything and I get the numbers from last week, and then I look and go, what else can I do this week? And I'm going to make some of those little changes too, and get with that. We were just talking about it this weekend. So perfect timing. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Watch the comments and the links, and then for sure go to our group page on Facebook, Digging In with Doggies for Dementia. Join in, because that will be where these juicy classes land, and the lives and the question and answer. And it should be fun too, because, well, we're fun, aren't we?
Yes, I think so.
I think, it's a serious topic and it's all important, but the fun, it has to be an element too, because that's life, and got to have that balance. Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening, and thank you, Autumn, with Autumn's Harvest. And we'll catch you next week. Bye-bye.